Yes, sir. We're officially back at it. This is Boog Nice coming at you with the Medicom Mafex The Dark Knight Returns Batman figure review. Let's do it.
This ain't for no scalper. You a scalper? Then fuck out shit. This one's for them real collectors. That's army building and posing figures. Marvel Legends, imports, mini maybe I'm fucking with them. Hype beast, we know about you. Stay buying figs, don't know about it.
And a quick look at the side of the box. You can see a picture of the figure and it says The Dark Knight Returns, and a bit more of the same on the opposite side. Up at the top it says The Dark Knight Returns again, DC, picture of the figure, Batman action figure, and Mafex number 106. And there's a quick frontal view. Alright, let's get this bad boy open and see what's what. On the inner portion, there's some more art. Looks like a picture of Batman straight from the comic book here. That looks great. Alright, here we go. Bruce Wayne, aka Batman. His bio on the back of the package reads, there's no bio on the back of the package, but this is Batman from Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. This was a 4-part little miniseries that came out in 1986, and this features a much older, much chunkier Batman. He's like in his 50s. He's like 55 years old. He had stopped fighting crime 10 years prior after the death of Jason Todd, and crime is running rampant in Gotham City. Then with the rise of some new gang that calls themselves the Mutant Gang, Batman comes out of retirement to fight crime once again, but he is faced with a lot of opposition from the Gotham City PD as well as the United States government. We find out later that Superman is actually working for the government. After Batman kind of gets down and dirty in the streets and starts to fight back the mutant gang, Superman gets involved at some point. In fact, a lot of the elements from this particular story was adapted into the Batman vs. Superman movie. So yeah, this is like a little alternate reality, dystopian future. He actually ends up hooking up with a new Robin in this story, Carrie Kelly, who is a female, and it's a pretty interesting story. The comic is good, and it was an animated film as well, if I'm not mistaken, so something you should probably check out. So we get some new characters in the story, and we get quite a few commonly known characters that return throughout. Now this figure is Mafex's first venture into this particular storyline, but we already know we're going to get another Batman soon with his blue and gray costume, and then we're also going to get a 2-pack with Carrie Kelly Robin. Mafex pretty much has you on the hook for the next 2 releases if you want that unmasked Batman head and if you want the Carrie Kelly Robin. Alright, so what do we have here? We have a nice little chunk of plastic that I'm pretty pleased with out of the package. However, I will say straight out of the package, the upper torso was disconnected from the lower torso. Wasn't broken, but I had to kind of really press to put it back together. And that is a common issue with some of the Mafex figures. In fact, my old Harvey Dent Two-Face figure from the Nolanverse is disconnected. The upper torso is disconnected from the lower, and I can't even get it permanently back in the socket. So I hope that's not going to be an issue with this guy. Aside from that, I do see that the left leg is a little longer than the right, and that poses a little issue when you want him to stand upright in a little vanilla stance. But I gotta say, it is a very nice looking figure. Batman has fully embraced his dad bod in his later years. In fact, that was a part of the story, was that he was, you know, out of shape and not really used to fighting every night, and kind of got his ass handed to him in the first fight against the mutant leader. So I don't really see too many paint imperfections on my version, mostly black and gray with the brown utility belt. Yes, the cape does have some bendy wire along the left and the right line, not all the way through and through on the cape, but it's pretty good, and it's not too long. It's not in the way like I felt the Hush Batman cape was, even though plenty of people said, hey listen, that's how the cape was drawn during that time, that's how Jim Lee drew the cape. I just don't think that Mafex kind of nailed the look from the comic book. The cape looked a little whack. It just didn't look good in my opinion. This one here is definitely better. And you can see how the Batman symbol, the Batman logo looks on the chest on this particular version of Batman. Very large. And I like that you can almost fully wrap him in the cloak for something relaxed here. And there's a close look at this head sculpt. Like I said, you're going to have to collect more to get that unmasked head sculpt. Straight out of the package, he comes with 2 fists. Pretty standard Mafex wrist pegs. He's got 2 open hands with the fingers spread. He's got another set of open hands where the middle finger and the ring finger are touching on both hands. These kind of look like they might be some martial arts hands. I like these. He's got a set that are kind of open and cupped, and it looks like the thumb and the pointer finger are close together. These might be suited for holding his batarangs. In any number of ways, you actually get 6 of these. So you can see in his right hand, he's just holding 1 in between his thumb and his pointing finger. And because the fingers are spread just enough apart, you can actually slip the batarangs in between each of his fingers and have him do one of these numbers. Actually, probably makes more sense this way. And then he's packed in with an additional set of hands that are basically a fist, but they do have a small opening where you can fit the batarang there. I'm not really sure if these are intended for the batarang. It looks kind of silly, but I'm thinking that you actually may be able to string some string through there and have him holding a line of some sort. Grappling hook, maybe that's something that we'll get down the line. Maybe we can use the grappling hook that came with the Hush Batman, or maybe just have him casually hold them. And you get 8 of these little batarangs for the record. And there's a look at that neck peg. Similar peg they've been using with a lot of their comic-based characters. I guess for that extra range of motion for looking up. And although you don't get the Bruce Wayne head with this version, his final accessory is another masked head where you can see he's angry, his teeth are gritted. Obviously this can be used for some action shots, for some fighting scenes or what have you. And I like this. This looks pretty good. But that's it in terms of accessories. Kinda skimpy, I guess, for a $90 figure. I mean, all Mafex figures come with a stand. I never showed a stand, but again, I'm okay with the 2 head sculpts that you do have here. Pretty standard articulation for Mafex. You saw how the head and neck work, so again, you can get his head up pretty damn far because of that curved sort of double ball peg thing they have going on there. Turn them left to right, pivot, full 360 on the head, whatever you want to do there. Shoulder articulation is great. There's a butterfly joint in there. You can see there's a ball peg, so you can move it back and forth. You can do a full 360. There's an upper bicep swivel. There is almost a double jointed elbow. I mean, it is sort of like a double joint, but it's hindered a little bit because his bicep is pretty big. No rotation at the glove, but there's rotation at the wrist and a hinge on the wrist. Upper torso articulation is pretty good. Again, I'm a little iffy with that because I don't want to pop the upper torso off of the lower torso, but you do get a good range and you do get lower abdominal articulation as well. So he can crunch pretty far forward and pretty far back as well. Probably get an A.C.B.A flight stand in there too. This is a separate part, the belt. He can turn at the waist too. At the pelvis, there is this barbell joint in there. Legends has been adopting a similar system, but you can rotate them at the thigh there and the joint is hidden pretty well. And you do get a double jointed knee. No rotation at the boot. You do get a hinge, a swivel, and a nice ankle pivot as well. So yeah, my dude is a little chunky, but there is good articulation. You can definitely get some nice poses out of this guy. It's going to be nice to get him atop some buildings in Gotham, jumping down and messing with the flight stands and all of that good stuff. I do like the articulation on the cape, although I do wish that the bendy wire was through and through all the way through the back. But you can see you can get it up nicely regardless. Yeah, I'm cool with this guy. I think I like this guy better than the Hush Batman. I don't think I like the Hush Batman at all, actually. And I forgot to mention the toe joint here, too. Yeah, man, definitely some fun factor here. All right, a few quick size comparisons and I'm gonna get up out of here. So everything you see before you are all offerings from Mafex, probably the best Batman offerings that we have from Mafex. So on the left is the recently released Hush Batman, which I actually think is whack. I'm going on the record and I'm saying that I don't like this Batman. I think the frame, the body, the buck is a little too slender for the Hush style Batman. I hate the way the knees bend. You remember if you saw my review, I I had a QC issue with the right knee, and I just hate the cape. These all have drastically different capes as well. So the Hush Batman does have a bendy wire, and it is good for, I guess, dramatic posing or what have you, but it looks like crap to me. It doesn't look as good as Jim Lee's artwork, in my opinion. Then the Dark Knight Returns Batman has a more subtle cape, still has the bendy wire. It's good, I like it. And on the right is the Mafex Justice League Batman, which I actually wish had bendy wire. They kind of missed the mark on this Batman. He could have been much better if he had bendy wire in his cape. They went with the kind of pleather look for this Batman. Overall, the figure looks pretty good. I think they dropped the ball on the cape with that one, but that's how these three stack up. And this doesn't work as well as I thought it would. I thought he'd be able to hold this a little more snug. So this is actually the line for the grappling hook from the Hush Batman. And this is actually what the hands are for. I thought about that early on, but I said, you know what, let me wait to try it. But yeah, the cloak does slip right into the hands in between the thumb and the folded up fingers. You could definitely play with that, get his arm stretched out longer, or just have him hold it down to his side. A lot of different options with this cape here. Okay, here's how he stacks up to a couple of Mezco figures, actually all old man Batman figures here. So the very first 112 collective figure was their version of the Dark Knight Returns Batman. Unfortunately, they did not try to explore this anymore, and I think they dropped the ball big time by doing that. I had to ask them from like the very first time that I saw this figure if they would actually be doing a Carey Kelly Robin. Unfortunately, that never happened. Now, they did give us a mutant leader and gave us a couple of different variants to this particular Batman, so it seemed like they were on the right track for a while. But honestly, the Mafex version is more comic accurate, has better posability. It just looks better. I think this figure looks really, really good in hand. I think that you're going to be really happy once you get this guy out of the package and get to mess around with him yourself. And then on the right is the most recently released Batman from their sort of comic style universe. This is their version of an older Bruce Wayne in the Supreme Night Batman, which I really dig. I do like this figure a lot. If you didn't check out that review, please do. But yeah, you can see how all of those stack up. Like I said, Mafex has a winner here in my book. I was able to remedy the issue with one leg appearing to be longer than the other two. I think I just had to kind of finagle with it at the pelvis. I think the way the cape on the Mezco, the Dark Knight Returns Batman sits is one of their better ones. It's a mystery why they didn't explore that sort of tailoring again and maybe just add bendy wire to that sort of cape, because they've been all over the place since. Now, I will say the Supreme Night Batman's secondary cape is phenomenal. So I guess they worked it out over the years. And there's a look at that. That's the Supreme Night Batman Old Man Bruce head on the Mafex body, which actually looks pretty good. This could hold you over until the blue suited battle damage version drops. I'm not mad at this. Obviously you won't get the full range of motion because it's just kind of sitting on there, but you can turn to left to right, you know. And this would actually be kind of fire if the head could pop on there. So this is the Mafex, the Dark Knight Returns head on the Mezco, the Dark Knight Returns body. But you know, this peg is very large and that peg hole is very small, so it won't fit. But so solid offering here from Mafex. Probably one of my favorite figures from Mafex, period. Absolutely my favorite Batman from them so far. No question about that. They did a good job. Probably one of my only existing gripes is that there wasn't bendy wire through the entirety of the cape. And I'm just a little weary about that upper torso disconnecting from the lower torso. I've got to monitor that and make sure that's not a problem. But this is definitely one I would recommend. They got me on the hook for sure. I definitely have to get that 2-pack with Robin, and I guess I'm gonna have to go ahead and get the battle damage version and the blue and gray suit as well. So yeah, man, this is pretty nice. It's gonna cost you about $90-100 domestically, which is pretty much around the same price you would pay getting it directly from Japan with shipping and everything. So there'll be a link for that in the description below. Thanks for hanging out. As always, rate, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell down there, and until next time, peace.
Crispy.